the last 24 hours. Powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by The Click.
Good morning and agitten chodesh. Today is Thursday, Parshas Vayikru, the chodesh Nissen Tuvshim Payvov on Edge. My name is Gershy Schwarcz and I'm your host, B'siyata D'Shmaya on Edge. Today is March 19th, 2026, Okay, so this week was totally fine, normal week. Besides oil prices exploding, missiles flying all over the place, Iran threatening terror attacks on American soil, and flights cancelled, stock market took a hit. Other than that, a totally normal week. I'm obviously kidding. For those of you tuning in for the first time, well, there is a very big war going on between America and Israel and Iran as well, besides the one in Russia and Ukraine and Pakistan and the Taliban in Afghanistan. Yep, today it got a lot bigger and a lot more dangerous and a lot more expensive, and everyone is furious. Israel hit South Pars, that is the single largest natural gas field in the entire world, located in Iran. They destroyed processing equipment and started fires across the whole site. This was the first time Israel ever hit Iran's natural gas infrastructure, ever. And hours before that, Israeli forces, might you remember, from yesterday, killed three of Iranians' top leaders, Ali Larijani and Ismail Khatib, the chief of intelligence there, and other Iranian officials, all killed in a single day. Thousands of supporters filled the streets, therefore, of Tehran to mourn Ali Larijani and his bodyguards and his people and his son, and all the other Iranian officials that were killed in these strikes. Iran hit back very hard and wide. 2 Iranian missiles struck Ras Laffan, one of the largest natural gas processing centers in the world, located in Qatar. That's a major deal, by the way. Qatar's national energy company said the damage was so major. Satellite photos confirmed it. Qatar kicked out, therefore, as a result of it, Iran's military and security representatives within 24 hours. Qatari Prime Minister is right now in Turkey, speaking about the aggressors and the beneficiary of the aggression. We all know who the aggressor is, and I don't think he's talking about only Iran. Iranian drones also struck oil refinery facilities in Kuwait, sparking a fire there. And Iran hit Saudi Arabia's oil refining facilities at the Yanbu site, which is on the Red Sea coast, with black smoke visible from a distance. Iran also issued, the Irgc, an evacuation warning to Saudi Arabia's energy facilities, including the Samref refinery, which is in Riyadh. Irgc was on the phone with one of the officials, with Qatari officials. They say with Turkish officials, while missiles were flying towards them. A ship was hit and set on fire in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran is getting busy. Also, they sent missiles to central Israel last night, killing a foreign worker. And also, an Iranian missile hit a hair salon in the West Bank region called Beit Awa, killing 3 Palestinian women, including a young girl. Those were the first Palestinian deaths caused directly by Iran since the war began. Israel kept going. Israeli forces hit Iran's port on the Caspian Sea, the Anzali port, for the first time ever, setting 3 ships on fire. One of those ships was believed to be carrying Russian military equipment. Israel hit the airport in the Iranian city as well, bombing all kind of different helicopters and other, machines and stuff, fuel storage sites. And the projectile also landed near Iran's Bushehr nuclear plant. Who fired it, exactly what was hit, and whether the reactor itself was affected, none of that has been confirmed so far. But, as we remember, not long ago, a very similar thing happened next to the Bushehr nuclear plant. It's a civilized nuclear energy plant that Russian scientists attend there and are working there, and they were very furious with the Israeli strikes hitting very, very close to them. Well, no Russians were hit or injured. We don't know yet what happened there, though. This is the second time it happened. So far, Israel says they struck over 8,500 targets in Iran. Now, behind the scenes, after Qatar got their hit this morning, Qatari officials picked up the phone and contacted the White House. The White House envoy Steve Witkoff, demanding to know whether the U.S. had prior knowledge to this. Witkoff arranged an urgent call between President Trump and the Qatari emir directly. After that call, Trump posted on social media saying the United States had no prior knowledge of the South Pars strike. But both American and Israeli officials claim otherwise. The strike was planned together with and approved by the White House. That's what they confirm. After Iran's second missile hit Qatar, Trump posted a direct warning on Truth Social. He said, and I am quoting his words, right? The United States of America, with or without help or consent of Israel, will massively blow up the entirety of the South Pars gas field in an amount of strength and power that Iran has never seen or witnessed before. Your President, Donald J. Trump. He added, I do not want to authorize this level of violence and destruction, but if Qatar's LNG is again attacked, I will not hesitate to do so. In the meantime, they're both making major deals. They're still going on with a $1 trillion investment deal that Qatar has promised to make in... Sorry, actually that's not Qatar, that's actually the UAE. I confused too, so it's okay. They're all in the same area and same region. UAE is also getting hit very, 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 very hard. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth stood in front of cameras this morning giving a press conference together with General Kane and said it straight. The heaviest day in the war is yet to come. We will finish this, he said. Saudi Arabia's foreign minister also warned publicly that Saudi's patience has a limit. And Trump went after the media this week too. He posted on Truth Social calling television networks corrupt and highly unpatriotic. He backed his FFC chairman's threat to revoke broadcast licenses from stations that run what they call fake news about the war. Trump wrote on Truth on social media, they get billions of dollars of free American airwaves and use it to perpetuate lies. He then added, and this is a direct quote of him, as I used to say in The Apprentice, fired. The FCC chairman separately warns broadcasters, change course before your license renewals come up or lose them. Free speech advocates are calling it outrageous and unconstitutional. A fire broke out in the laundry room of the USS Gerald R. Ford, one of America's biggest and largest aircraft carriers, actively involved right now in operations against Iran. A fire broke out right now in the laundry room, and many sailors had to evacuate as a result. So now it's heading to the Greek island of Crete, one of their bases there for repairs. British forces shot down 40 Iranian drones this week. Royal Air Force pilots, Royal Navy crews, and ground-based gunners all took part of this operation. President Trump flew to Dover Air Force Base in Delaware for a military ceremony, receiving the bodies of 6 American soldiers who you know already, as reported here on Edge, were killed when the military refueling airplane, the KC-135, crashed in Iraq some time ago. Yesterday was the official funeral. It was the second time Trump has attended one of these ceremonies since the war began. The Pentagon has asked the White House for more than $200 billion in additional money to fund the war. We all know the war is costing already close to $1 billion a day. Now, there is something else going on with Iran that most people don't even know about yet. Listen to this. American nuclear security experts are warning about a site called Pickaxe Mountain, a secret Iranian nuclear facility buried deep inside a mountain. It was built specifically to survive airstrikes. Analyst Andrea Stryker is calling on the US and Israel to neutralize this site before anything. Why? She says Iran's existing uranium stockpiles they have enough material for multiple nuclear weapons. Also, she added, it needs to be secured. Even the most powerful bombs may not be able to reach what is buried inside that mountain, according to some experts. This is not a small concern. Now, here is where things got really interesting inside Iran itself. Remember yesterday we told you that Iranian President Pezeshkian was reportedly looking for a way out? Well, listen to this. Here is the update. On March 7th, for those of you who remember, Pezeshkian went on Iranian state television and actually apologized to Gulf nations, the Gulf countries, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, and the UAE, and Oman for the Iranian missile strikes on their territory. He called the attacks miscommunication, and yes, he apologized live on TV for the missiles his own country fired. The Iranian regime was furious. The leaders were not too happy about it. They pressured him to stop apologizing and take a step back. And he did. But as of today, Pezeshkian has reportedly been cut out of all major military and strategic decisions entirely. He is the president of Iran, and they stopped telling him what is actually going on. That is what a regime looks like in serious trouble. And now, 3 men were executed in Iran this week. They were convicted of killing 2 police officers during the period of civil unrest inside the country. Iran has been executing people all over the place. Well, we all know already that 44,000 people have so far been killed. I think that's the number connected to the protests and violence that they call violence, at a very high rate in recent years. The Mossad, Israel's intelligence agency, is going after Iran's security apparatus in a very creative way. They are calling senior Iranian security officers directly on the phone and warning them that they are on the blacklist. A recorded call obtained by the Wall Street Journal captures a Mossad agent telling an Iranian police officer his name is on the list and his future does not look good. Israel's goal is very, very clear: get Iran's own security forces to stop cooperating with the regime from the inside out. A few major terrorists were killed earlier today as well. I don't yet know their names. Somebody named Matib, I think, a very high-ranking officer and in charge of the intelligence of the Irgc. Now, the political mess inside the US government, my friends. We told you yesterday that Joe Kent resigned, right? Tulsi Gabbard's top assistant, the head of the National Counterterrorism Center. Well, the first senior Trump official to quit over this war. You heard that story already yesterday. Here is what is new. After he quit, he sat down with one and only Tucker Carlson, yes, that Tucker Carlson, for a 2-hour interview saying, Israel. Trump started the war under pressure from Israel. First, he defended Ali Larijani, the one who was killed recently, the top Iranian security chief, right? Kent actually claimed Larijani was a good guy who wanted to make a deal with America, and he complained that killing him was a big mistake. Then he told Carlson that the real threat to the United States is Israel, not Iran. He also pushed a crazy conspiracy theory about the assassination of late Charlie Kirk, the conservative activist, who was murdered last September in University, Utah. Kent strongly suggested that pro-Israel forces and Yidden were behind Kirk's death, and he claimed federal agencies blocked his team from investigating. When blood libels can't get any funnier. Well, thinking about blood libels, I always think about the matzah. Well, it leads me to that. It does. What can I say? Montreal matzah, Beckerai. Help me in the song. There's an ad of this. I can maybe show you the ad if you want. All right, so basically, Montreal matzah is one of the most healthiest matzah out there. When it comes Pesach, I want to know that my matzah is easy to digest. I go onto montrealmatzah.com. I enter my zip code and I find the nearest place that sells it. They sell spelt, regular, whole wheat, extra thin, and as well oat matzahs. You can call them on this number, 718-619-3661, or you can stop by to the Montreal Matzah Bakery if you're in Montreal. If you're not, I heard people fly over, especially to get the Montreal matzah. So, 4320 14th Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, they have a pop-up shop. You can get your matzahs there. Okay, now, the administration hit back fast, saying that Kent was already under FBI investigation for leaking classified information to Carlson and Candace Owen and others. They said he did not resign out of principle. He resigned because the investigation was closing in on him. He was getting in trouble, obviously. Senator Lindsey Graham strongly criticized Kent for his comments.
I don't believe he would kill all the Jews. That would be a mistake. Certainly the Jewish people believe that. And this idea that we were drugged into the war by Israel, that's the oldest game literally in the book.
Anyway, Senator Lindsey Graham, as you can hear himself, says that always blaming the Jews is the oldest blood libel in the books. And he added that Iran hates everyone and they have the blood of Americans on their hands, not just the Jews. Vice President Vance said it's a good thing when officials who cannot do what the president asks them to do, well, choose to leave. Senate Republicans voted down a Democratic resolution that would have required Congress to approve military action against Iran. Democrats say they will keep bringing it back up again. Drive them crazy, I guess. Quick update on a story from yesterday. The SAVE Act, the Save America Act, right? The voter ID bill. The Senate voted 51 to 48 2 days ago to begin the debate. First hurdle cleared. Still needs 60 votes to pass. Republicans don't have that. But every Democrat who voted no is now on the record. Now the economy. Oil crossed $113 a barrel, up 6% in a single day. Analysts are no longer dismissing the idea of oil reaching $200 a barrel. $200 per barrel. Go fill up your tank now. That's all I'm saying. It's Pesach in 2 weeks. So better gear up now because that's all we live on, right? Oil. In the UK, gas prices have more than doubled since the end of February. The Dow Jones dropped more than 750 points and closed at its lowest point of 2026. The US national debt crossed $39 trillion. Gold dropped below $5,000 an ounce. Well, it's time to buy now. Time to buy now when it's low. Because when things go good, it will jump up. So, go get it. Flights are being cancelled left, right and centre because of the war. El Al has cancelled all regular flights through March 27th, operating only special flights to bring Israelis back home and American citizens who are stranded abroad. American carriers Delta and United have also suspended services to the region. through May. United will go through June. Israel has also limited the number of passengers allowed on outbound flights. If you are trying to travel anywhere near the Middle East now, well, good luck. Let's talk about a better luck, I guess. If you have a Shtreimul and you need to renew it, you know who to call. Shtreimul Renew. We spoke about it many, many times. 732-523-1559. Free pickup and free delivery from all areas in the tri-state area. They press it, they glaze it, they color it, and they renew the couple and the Shtreimul. Shenevinaya, as they say. Hasta Shtreimul, give a call. 732-523-1559. All right, in Lebanon, the IDF is not slowing down. It is expanding. Listen to this. Since we reported yesterday on the heavy strikes in Beirut and the ground operations in the south, things have gotten bigger. IDF troops are now operating deeper in southern Lebanon, establishing a forward defensive zone, a buffer pushing Hezbollah further back from the Israeli border. The focus, destroying Hezbollah's rocket launchers, weapons, storage facilities and command centers in Beirut. This is not random bombing. This is a systematic operation to take apart the entire terror infrastructure that has been sitting on Israel's northern border for years now, funded, obviously, by Iran. Hezbollah is getting pushed back. Their launchers are getting destroyed. The commanders are also getting killed one by one. The terror group is losing ground every single day. More than 1 million people have been displaced since the fighting intensified on March the 2nd. Israel has more than doubled its troops' presence along the northern border. This war has been going on longer than the Iranian war. It has obviously intensified since the war in Iran started and they joined forces. Kuwait made another major security bust this week. Authorities arrested 10 Hezbollah operatives and they put out a video very proudly about it. The second time this week, they have broken up a Hezbollah cell on Kuwait soil. The group was plotting to attack vital installations inside the country. Hezbollah is the Lebanese terror organization, a parliamentary group, if you don't yet know what they are, backed and directed by Iran, obviously. And apparently, they were busy in Kuwait this week as well. Iran is now demanding money from the UAE. Listen to this. In a formal letter, the parliamentary members of Iran sent a letter to the United Nations. Iran's ambassador accused the United Arab Emirates of allowing its territory to be used for the recent American aggression airstrikes against Iran, calling it an internationally wrongful act and demanding compensation. All the while, missiles are flying and being intercepted over Ramat Gan. Iran is the one causing chaos and havoc through throwing missiles on civilians all over the world and killing, all over this area in the Middle East and killing innocent people for 47 years now. And they want us to pay for it. Interesting business strategy. Now terrorists are trying to make money off their work. Unbelievable. 4 people were injured in a Hezbollah rocket attack in Kiryat Shmona. A man in the 60s and is a serious condition and sustained shrapnel injury, and a woman, age 68, who was also injured in the head, and 2 men in their 20s who were lightly hurt by the blast. All 4 being taken to hospital. Magen David Adom confirms. Okay, President Donald J. Trump has been demanding the European countries to send their navies to help reopen the Strait of Hormuz. About 1/5 of the world's oil passes through it, right? As you know, it's a very, very narrow waterway. Now, Iran recently closed the waterway because of the ongoing war with the United States and Israel. Now, I'm also repeating this information. I say it every single day, but I know that some of you have just tuned in, so you want to know what this is all about. This has caused global energy prices to go up fast. Now, listen to this. Earlier this week, European leaders completely refused the president's request. They said, well, it's not our war. But something changed their minds. 5 European countries, along with Japan, have suddenly changed their course. They announced today that they are now prepared to help. The countries are putting together a plan to protect the waterway and get the oil shipping lanes back open. Turns out, it's not our war, only lasts until you actually have to pay for your own gas. Oh, there is a war in Russia. Speaking of gas, a Russian missile strike on a Ukrainian hydropower plant has left thousands of people in the neighboring country of Moldova without running water. The plant sits on the Ukrainian side of the border and supplies water to communities across the Moldovan region of Transnistria. The United States government is now officially working to free a 61-year-old American citizen being held in Iranian prison. His name is Karman Hekmati. Secretary of State Marco Rubio officially labeled his detention as wrongful, and his case has been moved to the Special Presidential Office of Hostage Affairs. Here is the story. Hakmati was born in Iran, came to the United States as a teenager, and built a life as a jewelry merchant on Long Island. Last July, he traveled back to Iran to visit his family and was arrested. His crime, according to Iran, visiting Israel 13 years ago for his son's bar mitzvah. He is now being held in Evin prison in Tehran, one of the harshest prisons in the country, while his family says they are deeply worried about his health and they don't know where he is or what is going on with him. The Iran war is now creating security threats far beyond the Middle East. Listen to this. In London, 2 Iranian men appeared in court this week, charged under Britain's National Security Act for running a surveillance operation targeting Jewish locations, individuals, and the Israeli embassy in London, described as a preparation for physical attacks on the community. Sweden's security service warned that the conflict has raised the domestic threat level, specifically listing Jewish institutions as potential targets. And the most serious warning is coming from North America. Both American and Canadian intelligence officials say Iran may be planning terror attacks on American and Canadian soil. No specific target, no timeline, but the warning is being taken very seriously. Well, they've always wanted to do this. They keep on screaming, death to America, death to Israel, death to America. Let's hope, like I said, that warning also triggered a political crisis in Canada. Listen to this. It came out that the Iranian-backed forces attacked Canadian troops, and the government said nothing about it for 11 days. The story only broke out because a French-language newspaper called La Presse published this piece on its own, and opposition leaders are demanding answers. Why Canadians were not told? The government has not given any explanations. Security at New York City synagogues are being stepped up, the shuls, and the shuls themselves are paying for it. The head of the Jewish security organization says most shuls right now need multiple armed guards on site at all times. Federal funding through the Department of Homeland Security that normally covers exactly these costs has stalled because of the ongoing partial DHS shutdown we told you about yesterday. Shuls are paying for the for the added security themselves while waiting to see if the federal funding comes back. Now to Washington. A few quick updates. Well, you guessed it. President Trump's pick to run the Department of Homeland Security, Markwayne Mullin, had his confirmation hearing this week. It got heated. Senator Rand Paul confronted him directly, told him to his face he was voting no. He called him unfit for the job. Democrats also pushed back very hard. Even so, Mullin did advance out of the committee. But the full Senate vote is still not a sure thing. Also on the Republican side, California Congressman Kevin Kiley quit the Republican Party this week. As a result, he lost all his committee seats. Well, it's getting very slim, I would say, the majority for the Republicans. A new report says the White House is putting together a fast-moving plan to remove Cuba's socialist government and possibly replace it with leadership friendly to the United States. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is said to be leading a covert operation triggered after the discovery of spies inside the U.S. government. The plan could see major action inside Cuba in the very near future. American intelligence agencies do not expect China to invade Taiwan. Well, we already reported many times about this. In 2027, they said that they are about to invade Taiwan. Well, they say Beijing still prefers a non-military path, one less thing to worry about for now. Islamic terrorists in Iran claim they hit and seriously damaged an American F-35 fighter jet early this morning. They were so proud about it. The plane is an F-35. For those of you who don't know, that is a super high-tech American jet that costs over $100 million and is built to be totally invisible to the enemy. But early Thursday morning, while the jet was flying a combat mission over Iran, it got hit by enemy fire. So much for being invisible. Thankfully, the pilot managed to keep the broken jet in the air. He flew it out of danger and made an emergency landing at the United States military base in the Middle East. This was one of the operations he carried out. Military spokesman Captain Tim Hawkins says the pilot is safe and doing fine. The military is now trying to figure out exactly how the terrorists managed to hit such an advanced plane. If confirmed, this is the very first time Iran has successfully hit an American or Israeli F-35 since the war started a few weeks ago. The terror group put out a statement bragging about the attack, claiming their weapons are getting stronger. Multiple drones were spotted flying over a military base where both Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth live, several times in a single night within the last 10 days. Who operated the drones has not been determined, but it is raising serious security concerns. At the MacDill Air Force Base in Florida, also this week, a suspicious package was found containing what the FBI is calling possible energetic materials, meaning the substance can explode or ignite. The investigation is still ongoing. A terrible tragedy happened out of Mitzrayim. Speaking of leaving Mitzrayim, a group of Breslev Chassidim from Irgc were traveling to the Sharm el-Sheikh airport to catch a flight to Oman when their vehicle was involved in a serious accident. One 30-year-old Ingman Nebuch, whose identity I do not know yet, was killed and several others were wounded. Zaka volunteers went to the scene to make sure the nifter was treated with full kavod hames. A former Syrian prison chief has become the first official from Assad's government, the Assad regime, which fell, right, as you remember, in Syria, ever to be convicted on American soil. A federal jury found Samir Osman al-Sheikh, whatever his name is, guilty of torture and immigration fraud for his role running a Syrian government prison under Assad's rule. First time ever. It took a while, but they got him. Syria's new government has announced a plan to destroy the chemical weapons that left behind by the fallen Assad regime. The United States is backing the effort, and now Turkey has joined an international task force to get rid of these weapons. More countries are stepping in to help. Irgc members were seen hiding under tunnels and underpasses, waving white flags. Unbelievable. Because the Israelis are targeting them with drones now. It means surrender, the white flags. When they raise the white flag, it means surrender. All right, let's talk about Protobyte. If you ever need to build yourself software, advanced software, call 347-354-1237. And if you want to get Kliger, all communication in one place, Salesforce, they have an amazing piece of software. Call them on 845-335-3343. It is made instead of all these subscriptions that you pay hundreds of dollars to a month. And as well, if you want to borrow some money for an investment, YS Capital Group is your answer. Answer is yes. 718-831-2168. And as well, Arrive Express. You can book a taxi 845-622-1111, 845-254-1111. Download the app on ArriveMonty.com. They are the most wonderful service I know. Taxi service. That is your On Edge report for today. My name is Gershy Schwarcz, and have a wonderful day, and I'll see you again next time.
Your daily report of the news of the last 24 hours, powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by The Click.